On today's show, the Dallas Mavericks get a win over the Detroit Pistons, get a little bit closer to that number 3 seed in the playoffs, and looking back at the Pistons with Cade Cunningham sort of gave us flashbacks to Luka Doncic's rookie year. Did the Mavericks build the right way, or is their offense doomed? Will it work? We'll talk about that and more on today's Locked On Mavs.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks podcast.
The Dallas Mavericks are NBA champions. Bang! Bang! It's good!
And the Mavericks have won the game!
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager for the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks for making Locked On Mavs your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms, including YouTube, where thank you, everybody, for helping us get to 12,000 subs. We appreciate every single one of you. There's still more that are not subscribed, but we appreciate those that are. And joining me, as always, my co-host, contributor, writer at Mavs.com, the Pistons Prince, the One More Thing King. What you got for me, Isaac Harris?
I don't have anything for you. No.
Oh, first time ever. So
one more thing.
One less thing, King.
If you're listening to this pod and you're not subscribed, what's holding you back? What's holding you back?
Yeah.
Do we need to have...
What can I do to get you in a Locked On Mavs podcast subscription today?
Do we need to have a moment?
Take some money off the MSRP, huh?
Can I invite you into a moment? And
should I get the guitar? It's in the corner.
Somebody tweeted at us the other day saying we need another altar call for something. I'm like, hey, don't tempt it. You can't tempt the spirit.
So the Mavs get the win over the Detroit Pistons. Win the Mavs. It depends on how you feel. Did the Mavs need that win? I don't know. Some people seem to think that, some of you listening seem to think if they don't beat teams they're supposed to beat, then it's a really bad sign. And then also trying to get to the number 3 seed, trying to keep home court advantage. The Mavs even mentioned home court advantage a couple of times, but the Mavs win 131-113 in large part to their second half just jolt. They scored 66 points in the second half, went 10 of 15 from 3 in that second half, so scored half their points from 3. And the Mavs hit well from 3, and then they end up winning the game. Luka Doncic and Jalen Brunson combined for 50 points. Luka had some incredible passes in this game. 14 assists for Luka. He's really trying to pad those assist stats, it seems like, and just really going all out. But looking at these two teams, we noticed on Twitter there's a couple of Pistons media people that we follow. Lazarus Jackson and our guy Koo Cahill, Locked On Pistons host. We mentioned a couple of them. I noticed a few more. Talk about how the Mavericks building around Luka and the Mavericks offense around Luka was striking to them. Like, oh man, the Mavs really ask Luka to do everything. Oh, the Mavs offense is just Luka and nothing else. Oh, the Mavs asked Luka to do so much. This offense is gross. And it made us think about Cade Cunningham, right? Because that's what they're looking at right now. Cade Cunningham,
and they specifically, like even Koo, friend of the pod, Koo, friend 100%. Of the network, and part of the network, Koo. Koo is like, I hope they don't build this way around Cade. And, they're looking at it of, we have this young star on the horizon, young playmaking point guard, bigger point guard. So you can kind of see the similarities of, Cade to Luka. And it was kind of striking just watching, and we're seeing, a couple of these guys that I really respect on Detroit, beat Potter, however we want to say it. They're like, hey, we don't want to, we don't want our team to look like this. We don't want Cade to have.
I hope the Pistons don't build around the Cade like this. Like, hey, sometimes it's just the way it goes. Like you try something with the Porzingis trade, doesn't work out. You try to go all in for Giannis, it doesn't work, and you can't always just get like another offensive piece next to your star player that is worth that star player giving up the usage and the possessions that makes the offense a little bit more pleasing to the eye, possibly.
Yeah, and so I think there's two sides that I felt when I saw something like that. I'm like, oh wow, they really don't like the system. They don't like how Dallas is doing this with Luka. How do I feel about that? And I think I look at it from two different angles. I think there's one side as a Mavericks fan that says you really can't argue too much with it because it's not like we have a ton of playoff success to say it works. We have to wait to see if they go on a finals run or they go on a conference finals run with this heliocentric offense, Luka running the show the whole time. doing the pick and roll, finding and orchestrating everything, and they go on this big run, then we could be like, hey, well, it got us to the conference finals because we have a top 5 guy in Luka Doncic. But we really can't say that now because we haven't seen it really happen. And so, but the other side of it, I look at it and I say, well, what else do you want? Like when you have a guy that is a top 5 guy of Luka Doncic, you don't really want the ball of his hands sometimes, but we've been saying on this power, like, hey, we need another second guy. We need
a secondary creator. Yep.
So in a way, I agree with them, but also I think it's way easier said than done whenever it's a fan base that has a young guy and it's like, oh, we'll get him help. Okay. We have time. Well, we're in year 4 of Luka, and we still really haven't found the second creator guy next to him. Maybe we're hoping Brunson,
an all-star level guy like that,
an all-star guy. I mean, look at early LeBron years. It wasn't Boobie Gibson that was doing that for him. Okay, you know how
Williams was an all-star. Isaac Mo Williams.
He put up 50 points in the game, but it took LeBron. That's true. LeBron didn't win his first title until what? He had an all-star elite second perimeter guy alongside of him in Dwayne
until
Wade.
He was humbled by JJ Barea. And then
I mean, that's pretty true. But that's it. It's just, I think it's easier said than done. Like, hey, I hope we build differently around them. It's like, I don't think they're building that bad around Luka. It's just, it's a lot easier, a lot harder to find a second creator guy to take the ball, to give him a break than you might think it is.
And you start looking at the numbers around the league. Like, yes, Luka does have the ball in his hands a ton and does a ton. And it all rises and falls on Luka. Luka led the league last year in usage percentage. Usage percentage is an advanced stat that shows you how often the possession ends with that player, whether they shoot, they score, they get fouled, they pass for an assist, like all that kind of stuff. It basically runs around that player. Usage percentage. Luka's usage percentage last year was 36 and led the league. 36% of the time, the possessions ended with Luka. This year, it's up to 37%, so it's even up higher. But Luka doesn't lead the league this year. Luka's at 37. Joel Embiid is at 37. Giannis at 35%. Trae Young's at 34%. Paul George at 34%. John Morant's at 34%. Donovan Mitchell at 33. LeBron at 32. Booker at 32. Tatum at 32. DeRozan at 32. Jokic at 32. Durant at 31. Like all these, Curry at 32. Jalen Brown even at 30%. Like all these guys in the NBA now, it's the way that the game is built to where it's all run through these guys, because guess what? The best option for most teams is for their best player to handle the ball and do the most things, right? Especially if you have better rest than ever before. You have better, recovery than ever before. These guys can take the load. They don't have to just take possessions off on offense unless you're LeBron James sometimes and you're like 37 years old. But these guys can do that, and it's the best option for their team. And so part of it is, would the Mavericks like to add somebody else? But the Celtics have, Jalen Brown, and Tatum's usage percentage is only like 5 percentage points off of Luka's. Like, it's not that far off. It's like a couple more possessions a game. He finishes, and then he's right up there with Luka, and he has Jalen Brown next to him. So it's just interesting to see, like, oh, they should build their team around better. But everybody's kind of doing that. Even like, Embiid, who has other guys that can handle the ball, and Giannis has Middleton and Jrue Holiday all season, and his usage percentage is still way high.
Yeah, and I think it looks a little bit different for Luka because he's bringing the ball down the court. Embiid, a Tatum, these guys, they're like not
the touch time, the time of possession looks more for Luka.
Yeah, so that's what makes it look a little bit different, but time will tell. It's not like we can go to that and like going full circle to that. It's not like we can go to it and be like, hey, well, the Mavericks, they got it right. Look what we've done. We've won this. We've made it this far in the playoffs. I think they built just fine. We really can't say that yet. We have to wait and see if this does work, moving forward.
Yeah, you look at the time of possession, and like Luka is at 9.4 minutes, leading the league in the NBA time of possession. Giannis, same usage percentage. Giannis is all the way down at 4.5 minutes per game. Like it's just Embiid's not even on the first page. Like Embiid is less than 4 minutes. Touch time. So it just looks different when Luka has the ball in his hands a lot, and he is isoing a lot, and he's doing a lot of things in the offense. The ball ends with him just as much as it does some of the other stars in the NBA. So
and it takes somebody really, really good for you to be willing to do that. Like,
right.
If Detroit goes out next year and signs Dennis Smith Jr. Again, and there's like, hey, that's who we want to run next to, Cade. It's like, well, no, you're not going to. No, you want Cade to have the freaking ball. So
they have Killian now that they drafted high, and they're still having Cade run the ball all the time.
Yeah, so that's why it's so hard to find that second perimeter guy that is good enough, not just for you to want him to kind of give your star player a little break, but also where your star player thinks they're good enough to say, let me defer a little bit. And I mean, Luka does that with Brunson and them guys, but we got to see if it works on the biggest stage.
And Luka runs the offense, right? He can make a decision to where he defers to Brunson, defers to Dinwiddie. He runs the offense. So some of it's on him too. It's not all just on the Mavs saying, oh, we got to put this entire burden of this offense on Luka, right? It's on Luka. He makes the decision. Jason Kidd is not Rick Carlisle. He's not out there calling every single play and deciding what is happening on every possession. Coming up, let's talk about this game. Let's talk about where the Mavs, how the Mavs played well. Jalen Brunson played a really, really good game. We'll talk about him. Josh Green is on a really good run right now. He got the podium game, so we'll talk about him.
Yeah, he did.
And more coming up. But before we do, let me tell you about BetOnline. It's your number one source for all your betting needs and sports info. Find all the latest sports developments, including the Masters. Isaac, you putting some money down on Tiger Woods?
Negative, not at all.
I don't think I will either. They have a couple of NBA. I don't know anything about golf. They have a couple of NBA specials. Lakers' next head coach. You ready for these?
No, give me Doc Rivers.
David Fizdale plus 300. Quinn Snyder plus 450. Doc Rivers plus 475. Nick Nurse plus 600. Mike Brown plus 700. Mike Brown already coached the Lakers. Sam Cassell plus 700. Steve Clifford plus 700. Kenny Atkinson plus 800. Terry Stotts, old friend, plus 1200. Mark Jackson.
Please do it.
Plus 1,800.
Get him. You would just think you wouldn't ever listen to him again.
Stan Van Gundy plus 2,000. John Calipari plus 3,300.
Yeah, it's time for him to go.
Jay Wright plus 4,000.
That's my guy.
Becky Hammond plus 5,000. All right,
Don't do it, Becky.
here's some ones that are out there. Becky Hammond also just signed like a 4 or 5 year deal for the Liberty, right? Phil Jackson plus 10,000.
They got him on the list. That's incredible.
Mike Krzyzewski plus 10,000. And here's one. BetOnline just they're pushing their luck with this one. If anybody puts money on this, maybe we could get them to call one of those numbers if you have a gambling problem.
It's a LeBron.
Plus 15,000 LeBron James to be the next head.
I was just kidding.
To be the next head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers. If you feel strongly about any of those, go check out BetOnline. It's BetOnline where the game starts. Thanks for making Locked On Mavs your first listen. For your next listen, check out the Locked On Now podcast, nightly recaps of every NBA game from local experts like us. Analysis everywhere. It's free and available wherever you get your podcast. The last night of the season, we're going to do an NBA playoff preview with everybody, so make sure you tune into that one for sure. All right, Isaac, let's talk about this game a little bit. The Mavs do get the win against the Detroit Pistons, and goodness, there were so many fouls called in this game. This was maybe Chuck Cooperstein said it was the ugliest first half that he's seen the Mavs play this year. I said, man, that's pretty high praise for a half that we've seen a couple of bad first halves this year. They combined for 45 fouls total in the game. They combined for 69 nice. free throws in the game. And it was just ugly. It was just ugly. There wasn't even that many there was 20 turnovers in the game, but it was just an ugly game where just nobody could do a lot of stuff. That Pistons team is very physical. Really, really physical. You got Isaiah Stewart, Beef Stew down there. He's physical.
I like him.
Cade's big. Sadiq's big. Like Isaiah Livers is kind of a big wing. Killian's a big guard. Like they just got a bunch of big bodies that are like they're like the Mavs right now, and that they're big, but they're also small at the same time. And but yeah, it was a rough and physical game for the Mavs. And they just ended up finding a way in that second half by hitting a bunch of threes. I'm
not gonna lie, there's not too many times that we obviously talk about the NBA for part of our living every day. It's not too many times that a player takes the floor that I'm like, I've never heard of you before.
Well, this year it's been the most all time because of the COVID 10-day hardship, all those.
Jamorko Pickett. It's a first timer for me.
Yeah.
Shout out to you, bro. Don't know who you are, but I missed some of the first half. my son was having a little allergic reaction, so we were tending to my son. But in the third quarter, they turned it on. I was looking at some stuff at halftime and like, man, we're really sucking as far as shooting the ball. But then they turned it around because they end up shooting for the game 45% from three. They hit 15 threes in this game. And just seeing the third quarter numbers, from this game, I had it right in front of me. Dang it. Here we go.
The third quarter, they shot 5 of 7 from three, 34 points. They were 27% from three in the first half. So they finished at 45. They really turned it on.
5 of 7 from the three in the third quarter. Reggie hit, 2 of those threes. Dorian hit 3. Shout out to the Marquise Chris.
I have to apologize that you felt that he should have played more.
The Marquise Chris 3 was insane.
Loved it.
Luke, okay, it was one of those moments in the third quarter where Luka was dribbling the ball. He was holding on to it a little bit too long, hadn't really decided, didn't really call a play. Cade Cunningham was containing him on the right wing.
Pistons fans loved that moment.
It was like the Pistons fans woke up. It was like, oh my gosh, all of a sudden something is happening in this game. And so they all of a sudden got really excited.
17 of them there.
It was like, did Ben Wallace come back? Like, did Rip Hamilton and Tayshaun Prince, like, did Chauncey Billups come back all of a sudden? Dennis Rodman make an appearance, and they were all just so excited about that moment. And Cade was playing really good defense. Like, not to, we're not trying to crap on the Pistons.
I love Cade, by the way. I think he should win Rookie of the Year.
He's really good. He played good defense on that possession. So, but it gets hit out of bounds, and the Mavs have like not a lot of time left on the shot clock. Marquise Chris gets the ball with like, I don't know 35 feet out, and he just nails this shot from so far away.
Buckets. But no, I love that shot. And I think if we just look at the game as a whole, it's freaking Jalen Brunson.
27 feet is what they called it.
Whatever. Tack on a couple more feet. Jalen Brunson in this game, 24 points. He was a plus 22. Had a handful of assists, 6 rebounds in this game, 9 of 15, shot 60% from the field. If Detroit liked him before, they really like him now for this offseason.
Yeah, you want to put another guard next to Cade. If they're talking about building their offense, put another guard next to Cade that allows him to...
Pistons be like, I don't like how Dallas is building around Luka. Signs Jalen Brunson.
Let's get Jalen Brunson.
We love Jalen Brunson.
But he is sort of the player that they want. Doesn't have to be ball dominant, can play off, can handle the ball when Cade doesn't. Cade can play off the ball a little bit more than Luka can. Cade does hit his catch and shoot threes, and so they can do that a little bit more. I
think those will come around for Luka. Get Luka playing off the ball a little bit more. I think it's more of shock factor now.
I sure hope so.
I mean, if you're not taking catch and shoot threes for the first 3 seasons of your career because you're playing with yeah. Anyway,
make the case. I thought Jalen Brunson played well, and we've seen this against these these bad teams. The Pistons have been pretty frisky. They've been a good defense over this last stretch of the season, but I thought he did well. He played patient. He was aggressive. 9 of 15 from the field. That's good. Got to the line 3 times, which is positive. That's a big positive for him.
And and to go back to that third quarter real quick. They shot 82% from the field in the third quarter. And this just goes back to we've kind of had this like mini narrative going along through the season, especially as of late, of how many times do the Mavericks have kind of like a weird first half and then they come out in the second half and it's third quarter. And it's like they clamp down. We talked about the halftime thing when they said Dorian to address the team. Like we've talked about this over and over again, that this is what good teams can do. And it's like, hey, we know we had a bad half. Let's get our crap together at halftime. Let's come out here in the third quarter and we're going to turn this thing around. And man, they shot the lights out 82%. I thought I saw on Twitter that Bobby Crawley joked that it was the highest shooting percentage, and then Mavs PR
he was not right.
Yeah, they tweeted back with the actual stat on it that was higher than the 82, but they just killed it. They flipped the switch again in the third quarter.
Absolutely. The Mavericks got their 50th win. And I think the last time that they shot really well was 2014. Was when they got their 50th win. It was a game against Utah. Mavs got their 50th win, first time since 2015. They got their 50th win. Let's play a game, Isaac.
Ooh, okay.
Where were you? I don't have any. Let's play a game. That doesn't sound like game show music. I don't have any game show music on here. I should.
This is an intriguing moment.
Let's play a game. Where were you the last time the Mavs got 50 wins? Put it in the comments. Let us know. Let us know on Twitter. Where were you? What were you doing the last time the Mavs got 50 wins?
You want to read the comments live right now?
I was breaking up with my last girlfriend. I was in my old house. I was living in a different state. Those are the comments. No, where were you?
I was. So we're just doing 2014-15 season? Or
2014-15 season, like 2015. This is like April of 2015. What's Isaac doing?
Yeah, so my wife and I, we moved to Dallas in April 2014. So we'd been married like 6 months, I guess, at the time, and moved to Dallas. Really big step of faith for us. And I knew I wanted to go to a seminary, get my graduate degree. God, we're going down the hill here. But yeah, we basically quit our jobs, took a bunch of money out of our savings account and said, God, you got this. And we moved to Dallas, and we were sitting in our apartment with boxes around us, and we started crying. We're like, what did we do? We moved to a state we didn't even know, but we knew we felt strongly that God was leading us here. And so, yeah, that was 2014. So we've been in Dallas 2015, spring 2015, we've been here a year, and I was in seminary getting a master's degree. She was working. And I think that's when I first started writing for a blog, The Smoking Cuban.
Oh, shout out.
At Fanside, and just having fun because I love NBA basketball, but I didn't have NBA basketball in Kentucky. So I was always just fans of players growing up and of Dirk and different guys growing up. And so now I was like, man, I got the Mavericks like down the street. I lived downtown. We lived downtown for 3 years, and like, let's do this. And the rest is history. Now we're like full on Texas. We feel like this is home now for us. We've been here 8 years, and we don't plan on leaving.
I was still at Christ for the Nations Institute. If anybody knows what that is, I was there.
Is that like Arkham?
I was there with my wife. We had been married we got married August 2014. So we had been married for just about the same. What's your anniversary?
Yeah, we got married 2013.
Oh, so you'd been married longer than 6 months.
Fall 2013. Man, people are loving this moment right now. Fall 2013 is when we got married. So we moved like 6 months later in spring 2014.
Let's play the time. Remember the timeline game. Isaac and Nick try to
retention rate on this pod.
Isaac and Nick try to remember their anniversaries. I had not even started covering sports at all yet at that point in my life. So for those of you that are sitting there saying like, I want to cover sports, just start, man. Just start working on it, because I wasn't doing it. The last time the Mavs got 50 wins, I wasn't even doing anything in sports. And here we are.
And a lot of times when you start, I feel like we do get this question or the DMs, and different stuff like, hey, I want to do this. And like, man, passion is just going to lead so much of it. And
you gotta want to do it.
Yeah. And I just started randomly just writing I just reached out to a blog. I'm like, can I just write something about the Mavericks? And one thing led to another. And then I'm credentialed a few years later, and then I'm writing for the Mavs team site, and you're calling me after a John Legend concert, asking me if I'd do this random daily podcast with you.
We barely knew each other.
We barely knew each other, and we had done one podcast together, and like, hey, would you want to do this? And I remember sitting in the car, asking my wife, I'm like, you think this is something I could do? Like, I don't know, let's just see if it would work. Every night, it seems like a lot.
Yeah.
And now almost 6 years later, we'll be pushing like 2,000 episodes now.
The vibes are immaculate. All right, coming up, let's get into the rest of this game. Josh Green had a really good game. He's had a really good couple of months here. Let's talk about his role a little bit more, and then get into the rest of this coming up. But before we do,
we're taking another ad break. Dang. All right, cool.
Well, we don't read, but yeah, we'll talk about that. Talk about Josh Green coming up. All right, Isaac Harris. So, Matt, we didn't have any ad reads. Sorry. Sometimes you don't have any.
Oh, that was incredible.
Still had to take the break. Still had to take the break. This podcast has gone off the rails. Completely off the rails. So I should have done
If you like this pod, put it in the chat. Put it in the comments on YouTube if you like this pod, if you enjoyed this. Because I know if you hated it, you've already told us by now. You've already put a comment on there of like, these dudes are idiots.
More Mavs. More Mavs.
Less God talk.
Stop talking about yourselves. We hate you. I know we hate one of you, not both, but we hate one or the other one of you. Yeah. Really couldn't stand when Isaac was talking about his anniversary date.
I know.
Josh Green, I thought had a really good game in this one. Josh Green played 21 minutes. He hit 2 threes, 7 boards. He had an assist. He had a couple of steals. He ended up with 12 points in this game. Josh Green, since January 7th, that was that Houston game. So if you listen to the post game, Harp was talking about, since you've really gotten some time here, that Houston game, January 7th, was kind of the first game that he got some real run here. He's averaged about 6 points, about 3 rebounds. One of those per game is an offensive rebound, which is huge. Josh Green, every time he hits out one of those offensive rebounds, it's a big moment for the Mavs. About an assist a game, 51% from the field. He's shooting 39% from 3 in this run since January 7th. And he's taking 1.5 per game. So not a ton, but he's still hitting the ones that he's taking. Playing 18 minutes a game. That's 8th on the team. And he's played in 42 of the Mavs' 42 games. And the Mavs are 30-12 in this run. Josh Green, he's really changed what I thought he could be in the NBA, I think. At certain points at the beginning of this year, I just thought, man, he's done. He's been through 2 coaches, and neither of them believe in him. And now it's just, he's got some stuff, right? He's got some stuff that he can be part of a rotation, and we can see the Mavs continue to start trying to develop him a little bit more, keep hitting those threes, keep being just like a chaos agent on defense. He's got a role.
Yeah, I mean, and it's the irony of it is they went against Saddiq Bey tonight, who went 1 of 11 from the field. And, this is a guy that we've talked about the Josh Green, Saddiq Bey stuff a lot. We knew, like, Dallas, a certain percentage of the front office liked Saddiq.
A faction in the front office wanted Saddiq Bey. A faction wanted Josh Green, and the Josh Green faction won out, and then lost in the end.
We were really hyping up Saddiq Bey going into the draft. We really liked him.
That was our number one guy at that spot.
And it was, a little sourced, but we actually did like him too. We knew the Mavs liked him and stuff. So, obviously they went with Josh Green, and I'm just happy for Josh Green because
Me too.
It felt like that first season, him just getting buried with Rick. And even when he did play, it was kind of like deer in the headlights. Didn't know what he was doing, his role. And like, man, did they really just whiff on? I mean, I know it's the 18th pick. It's not like it was the 8th pick, but still.
It was more that they had like the 18th pick, they had the 31st pick and the 37th pick, and they didn't get a single player out of it, right? That's what it felt like, at the beginning. It's like, they had 3 picks in that 2020 draft and really didn't get anybody, like no viable rotation players. That's what it felt like at the beginning of the season.
Desmond Bane went 30th in that draft. He played down the street.
Oh, at TCU, yeah.
Yeah, TCU. That's not Dallas, by the way. That's Fort Worth. So I'm happy for him. And I just want to see, it was kind of, on yesterday's pod. If you missed yesterday's pod, listen to yesterday where we talked about like the big questions going into the playoffs. And that was one I threw at the very end of, I just want to see what he looks like in the playoffs. I want to see if he proves that he belongs, will he get a shot? Will he have a long leash in the playoffs? What will his minutes look like? We know playoff rotations look so different. And especially with Kidd, we don't know what that's going to look like. Like Rick sometimes wanted to go deep in the playoffs. Will Jason Kidd make it a tighter rotation, 7-8 players? Or will Josh even be in that? So I think he will be in that. I want him to show that he belongs. And right now he's showing that he belongs. And I'm happy for him as a player. And it's big for the Mavericks too, because he's under that cost control contract.
Late in the game, the Mavs were up by like double digits. They're up by like 10 points or so, and they went super small, right? They went with this lineup with Josh with Josh Green as part of this super small lineup with 2 guards, the 2 wings, and then Josh Green, and stood out that the Mavs went super small in this lineup, and that Josh could play in this, and that Josh can still defend, and he can do all the things that the Mavs need him to do. And it's just standing out to me.
We need a name for the Bertans Dorian front court, because that's one of their small ball lineups that we've seen them throw that out there with Dorian at the 5. And shout out to Davis Bertans, 3 threes in this game. He's a sneaky X factor. I don't even know if we're gonna say X, like Y factor into the playoffs of
Y.
Can like, let's say these next 2 games, they have 2 games left. Portland on Friday, San Antonio coming up over the weekend, last 2 games. Let's say he goes into those games. He's going to play in both of those games. Let's say he hits 2 or 3 threes in both of those, goes into the playoffs. He looks like he's like feeling good shooting the ball. I mean, if Davis can come off the bench and hit 2 or 3 threes in some of these moments, like that adds a little something to this team that we don't have off the bench. And I think it'll be very, very interesting that if Maxey continues to shoot as bad as he is, and let's
Maxey
say
was out for this game.
Yeah, he was out for this game. I'll be really curious could you see a moment in the playoffs that Bertans passes up Maxey and Bertans is playing instead of Maxey because they're more confident in him shooting the ball in the offensive end?
No, I don't think we haven't seen any indication of that in the regular season so far. It's been that we're like, it doesn't matter if Maxey shoots 0 of 6 from 3. The Mavs are good, and Jason Kidd continues to have faith in him and just would rather take the defense of Maxey, the rebounding of Maxey, the playmaking of Maxey, and just if he's shooting threes, at least he's going to give him a little space, right? He may not hit them, but
sure,
at least he's going to give him a little space. Now, I want to give credit to Davis Bertans. I've seen this a little bit from some people on Reddit and Twitter and things like that. Davis Bertans' defense has been better. Like, he has not just been taken advantage of. He has not just been, like a traffic cone. He's not just been fouling all the time. Now, he does foul, but he's been better defensively than he was billed. Getting some boards, had a couple of assists in this game. He's every game, it seems like he's getting a couple of assists. He's been a little bit more usable of a player, even when he's not just straight up hitting, bombing from 3.
Yeah. And I thought he played well tonight. And I'm really curious to see how they use him in the playoffs. I don't think he's in the rotation, but could they find some minutes here and there for him? Or let's say they're down and it's time for the second unit to be in. I could see them putting them in of saying, hey, we got to have some type of, can Bertans get hot and hit 4 or 5 threes in a game? I could see it. And shout out to Theo Pinson, back tonight, playing in this game. Got some minutes towards the end.
AJ played a lot more in those 2011 playoffs than I remember, and we've watched those games recently, but he played
over and over. Yep.
We've done the finals flashback like years in a row, like 5 years in a row.
Well, we watched that whole Lakers series. What a great series, by the way.
Those first 3 rounds, like the whole Western Conference rounds, he averaged 21 minutes a game, almost 22 minutes a game. Like, dang, you forget that he was playing a lot.
You forget he was a problem.
He was a page of problem. Standings watch. The Mavericks are now a half game back from the Warriors. If the Warriors lose their next game, so Warriors' next couple of games here are they play against the Lakers. That team is dead. So unless something crazy happens, there's no way they're going to lose that one.
LeBron's just going to set these games out, right? Or is he going to try to get that dumb title?
I think so. I don't know. He could get the scoring title back, but yeah, and then the Warriors play Saturday and Sunday, so back-to-backs against the Spurs and Pelicans, who are only one game apart right now and are jockeying for play-in, like home court in that play-in game. So
that's the only thing they have to play for because they both clinched it. They both know they're playing each other,
and they're both 9-10. They can't get to 8. Yeah,
so it's really about who's just going to host the game, right? Like, they can still move within 9 and 10, right?
I think so, yeah, because they're one game difference from each other. But and then the Mavs have Portland and then San Antonio as their last 2 games too. So the Mavs have to win those 2 games. The Warriors have to lose one of these next 3 games. Anything can happen. They don't have Steph, so
yeah. I think that Pelicans game is going to be, yeah. Anyway,
we'll see. We'll see what happens. That's what we're going to continue to do, guys. We'll be back tomorrow with some more. Thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs.
Peace out.
Boom.